High school can be tough, right? You're dealing with classes, friends, and just trying to figure out who you are. For me, it was all of that, plus a teacher who seemed to have it out for me from day one. This isn't just a story about a mean teacher. It's about how one person's negativity almost derailed my future and how I found the strength to fight back. It all started in my junior year in Mr. Harrison's advanced literature class. I loved literature. I really did. I'd spend hours getting lost in novels, analyzing poetry, and I was genuinely excited for his class. He was known for being tough, but I was ready for a challenge. The first day, he went around the room, asking us what our favorite book was. When he got to me, I proudly said Pride and Prejudice. He just smirked and said, a bit predictable for an advanced student, don't you think? The whole class chuckled. I felt my face turn bright red. That was my first taste of what was to come. From that day on, it felt like I was under a microscope. Every paper I submitted, no matter how hard I worked, came back covered in red ink. My A's turned into C's. His comments were never constructive. They were just mean, disorganized, lacks depth. Are you even trying? I'd compare my papers with classmates who got A's, and honestly, the quality was similar. The only difference was the name at the top. I tried talking to him after class, asking for specific feedback. He just waved me away, saying I needed to think more critically without ever explaining what that meant. The constant criticism started to get to me. I went from being a confident, straight-A student to someone who dreaded going to school. I second-guessed every sentence I wrote. My love for literature was turning into anxiety. My friends noticed I was quieter, more withdrawn. My parents were worried, too. They saw my grades slipping in that one class and couldn't understand it. I tried to explain, but it sounded like I was just making excuses. Maybe you're not working hard enough, they'd suggest, meaning well. It was isolating. I felt like no one believed me. The breaking point came when we started our big end-of-semester research project. This was a huge part of our grade. I decided to pour everything I had into it. I chose a topic I was passionate about, the symbolism of nature in romantic poetry. I spent weeks in the library, cited dozens of sources, and wrote what I thought was the best paper of my life. I was proud. I felt like this was my chance to finally prove him wrong. I turned it in, my heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. A week later, he handed the papers back. I scanned the room, seeing relieved smiles and the occasional sigh. Then he got to me. He didn't just hand it back. He held it up. Class, he announced, this is a perfect example of what not to do. Plagiarized, poorly argued, and a complete waste of my time. He dropped the paper on my desk. A giant red F was scrawled on the front page, with the word plagiarism written underneath. I was stunned. The room went silent. I had never cheated on anything in my life. I felt the tears welling up, but I refused to let him see me cry. I just stared at the paper, my world crumbling. Plagiarism was a serious accusation. It meant a 0 on the project, failing the class, and a permanent mark on my academic record. This could ruin my college applications. All my hard work, my dreams of going to a good university, it all felt like it was slipping away because of one man's baseless accusation. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just kept replaying his words in my head. Was he right? Was I a failure? For a moment, I almost believed him. I felt completely defeated, but then something shifted. The sadness turned into anger. I wasn't going to let him destroy my future. I had worked too hard. I knew I was innocent. The next morning, I went to my guidance counselor, Mrs. Davis. With my voice shaking, I laid everything out on the table: the constant criticism, the vague feedback, and now the false accusation of plagiarism. I brought my paper, my notes, and a list of all the books and articles I had cited. I showed her everything. Mrs. Davis listened patiently. She didn't dismiss my feelings or make excuses for Mr. Harrison. She looked at my evidence, at the meticulous notes I had taken. She saw the work I had put in. She believed me. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. She told me she would arrange a meeting with the principal and Mr. Harrison. She said, "You have a right to defend yourself, and we are going to make sure you get a fair hearing." The day of the meeting was terrifying. I sat in the principal's office with my parents, Mrs. Davis, the principal, and Mr. Harrison. He sat across from me, looking annoyed, as if this was all a waste of his time. My dad, who had been skeptical at first, was now my staunchest defender. The principal asked Mr. Harrison to present his evidence for plagiarism. He smugly pulled out a copy of my paper and a well-known literary critic's book. He pointed to a paragraph in my paper and then a similar one in the book, claiming I had copied it. This was my moment. I took a deep breath and explained, yes, that critic's work was one of my main sources. As you can see on page 12 of my paper, and in my bibliography, I cited his book and specifically referenced that chapter. I didn't copy it. I used his idea as a jumping-off point and then provided my own analysis, which is what we're supposed to do in a research paper. I then walked them through my entire paper, showing them my notes, my drafts, and how every single source was properly attributed. My argument was clear, logical, and backed by evidence. As I spoke, I could see the principal's expression change. Mr. Harrison, on the other hand, had nothing to say. He couldn't point to a single sentence that was actually copied. His entire case fell apart. It became clear that he hadn't even checked my citations. He had just assumed I had cheated. The principal concluded the meeting by saying the plagiarism charge would be completely dropped. He also said my paper would be graded by a different teacher, the head of the English department. A few days later, I got my paper back with a new grade. It was an A. Looking back, that experience taught me so much. It taught me about resilience and the importance of advocating for yourself, even when it's scary. It showed me that you can't let one person's opinion define your worth. If you know you're in the right, you have to stand up and fight for it. It wasn't easy, but taking that stand changed everything. It saved my academic career and, more importantly, it restored my confidence in myself. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where someone is trying to tear you down, remember your strength. Gather your evidence, find your allies, and don't ever give up on yourself. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a similar experience, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content. See you next time.